So for our date night, my wife and I went to this university hangout in Sydney. It was one of those trendy bars where it's just a hole in the wall. You're just meant to know it's there. There are no signs. And when we got there was a line of students because they were IDing everyone. Didn't matter how old or young you looked, they just ID'd everyone no matter what. So my wife and I, we joined the back of the line and we had our IDs out, and bit by bit we're getting to the door. Everyone is getting ID'd, and then when he got to us, he just waved us in and went, "Oh, how cruel. At least pretend to look at the IDs." And that was the wake-up call for my wife and me. We were not as young as we thought we were, and we can always be self-deluded and wrong about ourselves. You know, the NRMA, or here would be the RAA, they did a study. Every single driver rates themselves above average. And by definition, that's impossible, because only half of us can be above average. The other half of us are below average. But you see, we're self-deluded. We are always wrong about ourselves. So my name is Sam. And I'm here to give tonight a talk on ethics, how we can bring Christian ethics into work. I'm married to Steph. I have 3 young boys. I work as a doctor. Doctors aren't known for their ethics, so I'm the least qualified person to talk on ethics here. Also, I'm not very good on aesthetics. Adelaide's a beautiful city, so I'm probably the least qualified person to talk on ethics in the city of Adelaide, but here we go. Enron, the poster child of the 2000s. This was the company everyone wanted to be, but then there was a scandal. They had lied about their profits, they lied about their assets, they lied about their losses, and so the company collapsed. Jobs were lost, investors lost everything, and even people went to jail. Barclays Bank, this is a big name bank, and they've been caught up in a LIBOR scandal. They have been fudging and gaming the system. Wells Fargo, one of the top 3 banks in America, it seems like their employees have been creating millions and millions of fake accounts without customers knowing, so they can skim commission, and because of that, thousands and thousands and thousands of people have now lost their jobs. And this happens at a corporate level, and it happens at a level of individuals as well. So my family, we have a friend who worked in a bank, and bit by bit he was skimming money on the side. He was discovered, and now he's doing jail time. And so what if that could be us? See, what if we're self-deluded? What if we're not the people we think we are? How do we not become the next headline? How do we survive as a Christian in this workspace? How do we not become the next headline? Well, welcome to the world of ethics. And in ethics, we have simple things that try to tell us how to be right. And there are at least 4 systems of ethics. The first 3 are good, but I think the 4th one is the best one. So let's go through these systems of ethics. The first system of ethics we can try is what's called a code of ethics. And a code of ethics is this. We need a code of ethics. We need laws, principles, and commands to follow. If we follow these principles, laws, and commands, we will be good people. We will do the right thing. And this happens at every level. In the family, we have a code of ethics. The person who did not cook washes up. The driver gets to choose the music. Last one using the shower has to squidgy. And if you're the last to use up the toilet, you need to replace the roll. We have systems of ethics. This also happens in society. We have codes of ethics: no smoking, no littering, no drink driving. And it happens at the level of professions. So I work as a doctor. We now have a code of ethics where we cannot take gifts from pharmaceutical sales reps. They cannot pay for your dinner. They cannot pay for your overseas trip. You cannot even take a pen from them. You may say, it's just a pen. No, your professional code of ethics says you cannot take a pen, you cannot take gifts. This system of ethics is called deontology. We get it from Immanuel Kant, German Enlightenment philosopher from the 1600s, where we follow rules, commands, and principles, and by doing that, we will do the right thing. And we incorporate this into our workplace because we sign up on these codes of ethics, and by doing these codes of ethics, we will do the right thing. But there's a problem. If all we use is codes of ethics, we have a problem. And there are at least 3 problems. The first problem is what I call the traffic light problem. So, show of hands. This only works if you show me your hands. Who here, if you hit a red traffic light, would stop? Who here would stop? So, show of hands. All right, every hand went up. And if I said to you, why would you stop? What's the first thing that comes to your head? What? Okay, cars going the other way. But the first reason is it's the law. It's the law. The law says to stop. So here we're going deontology, codes of ethics. I stop because that's the law. Okay, we said cars going the other way, all that sort of stuff. It's 2 a.m. There are no cars going the other way, no police, no cameras. Who here would still stop? Show of hands. Wow, okay, so no cars, no police, no cameras. We still stop. Why? It's the law. 2 a.m, it's the law. I stop. Okay, 2 a.m, no cars, no police, no cameras, and it's been red for 20 minutes. Who here would go? Wow, okay, everyone would go. Now you're happy to break the law. Why? Because sometimes it's the wise thing to do. Only a schmuck would still be stuck there at the red traffic light. So sometimes the right thing to do is to break the law. And we have examples of that in the Bible. The Hebrew midwives broke a law. Rahab the prostitute told a lie to save the lives of the Hebrew spies, and she's commended for that. She ends up in Hebrews chapter 11 as a model of faith for telling a lie. So sometimes the right thing to do is to break a law. The second problem is what I call the toilet roll problem. So most people then, what they do is they only use up the second last piece of toilet paper and leave the last one there. So the next person has to change the roll of toilet paper. So here's the problem with laws. We try to do the least amount possible in order to be good. But it sort of goes against the design of the law. Or the third problem is what I call the iPad problem. So most families are like my family. We have a rule in our family. iPads on weekends only. That's our rule. And so because of that, on Friday, when the weekend starts, our boys turn on their iPads and they binge on their iPads. And if there's something else on, like a family dinner, or we want to go to the zoo, they go, no, it's a weekend, this is iPad time, no, we don't want to go to a dinner. And they binge. And then on Sunday night, when the weekend's over, they are crying because the weekend is over. We didn't get enough iPad time. So we had to do a time out. This is not working. And we had to explain to the boys, what is the intent of the weekend only rule? It's to minimize iPad usage, and it's had the opposite effect. You are now maximizing, binging iPad usage. In other words, human nature, we try to see how much we can get away with without breaking the law. So drink driving, 0.05. Now we're thinking, how much can I drink before I'm 0.05? You think, no, the intent of the law was to stop you drinking. But now you think, how much can I drink? And then I made promise to my wife not to cheat, not to have an affair. What does that look like? Am I allowed to flirt? Well, that's not an affair, is it? Can I send pictures of my elbow? Is that flirting? And you think, well, I haven't broken a law, but somehow you seem to be going against the intent of the law. And that's the problem with codes of ethics. I remember I was in Amsterdam, and they're showing us all these buildings, and they had no windows. And they explained, that's because they used to tax windows. And then they suddenly realized, okay, how about we just don't put windows in these buildings? And then I was in Peru earlier in the year, and all the houses in Peru don't look like they're finished. And they said, yes, that's because once you finish building the house, they tax you. So they always put a floor at the top that looks unfinished, like with wires hanging everywhere, but really the house is finished. So this is human nature. You see what you can do to get away how much you can get away with. And that's why codes of ethics just get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, because they're trying to cover each and every situation that you're going to do to try to get around the law, but you're really breaking the intent of the law. So the second system then is consequences. Look at the consequences. If it's a good result, this is a good thing to do. If it's a bad result, this is a bad thing to do. So every house has the no ball games in the house rule. Why? Because you will break things. That is a bad result. So this is a bad action. Why shouldn't you go through at a red traffic light? Because you will cause an accident. That is a bad result. So don't go through the red traffic light. Why can you go when it's 2 a.m? Because you won't cause an accident. So it's an okay thing to do. We look at consequences. Why shouldn't you take a pen from a pharmaceutical sales rep? Because now you are compromised. They own you, and now you are overprescribed on inappropriate medication to patients who don't need it. So that's why you don't take the pen, because that's bad consequences. And you can even have good consequences. So why should you be honest at work? Well, one bank CEO says because it will give you a competitive advantage. It will actually improve your business by being honest. It gives you good results. This form of ethics is called consequentialism. We get it from John Stuart Mill. It's also known as utilitarianism. Utilitarianism, which is summed up in that saying, the greatest good for the greatest number of people. But there's a problem with consequentialism, and there are at least 2 problems. The first problem is this. It leads to an ends justifies the means ethic. See, this is Lance Armstrong. He won 7 Tour de France's. But then we found out he did it by cheating, by doping, so they stripped him of all his wins. So that was a bad result. So that was bad for him to cheat. But only because he got caught. If we didn't catch him, it would have been a good result, and it would have been good to cheat. So it leads to an ends justifies the means ethic. It's only bad if you get caught. And then we have the atomic bomb problem. Was it good to drop the atomic bomb? Well, it all depends on who you ask. If you ask the Allies, it was a good result. It ended the war early. It saved a lot of lives. You ask the Japanese, wow, bad result. So good for who? So often the results are conflicting. This becomes a problem at work, because what is good for the shareholder is bad for the customer. But what is good for the customer is bad for the shareholder. In sales, what is good for the seller is bad for the buyer. What is good for the buyer is bad for the seller. So good results for who? So this system of ethics by itself is not enough. So this leads to a third system of ethics where we try to create an ethical culture. We just need to create a culture of goodness. So this happens at all levels. So in rugby, the All Blacks have a culture of winning. Maybe in your family, you have a culture where you have to sit down for family meals together at least once a week. Maybe in your society, you have a culture of lining up, because not all societies have that culture. And in medicine, we have a culture of sterility, authority, and hierarchy and order. So this system of ethics is called a social contract system. We get this from Thomas Hobbes, where we as human beings, we just all sort of sat down and we developed a social contract where we agreed on what behaviours, what is social moral etiquette, what we should do, what is acceptable, what is unacceptable. And so we do this in business. We create a culture of being ethical in our business. Well, there are at least 2 problems with using social contract theory. First problem is this. Fads come and go in society. So you just got to look at fashion. All right, so this haircut was very in. That is not me, but I just Googled the picture. But in high school, that is what I would have looked like. Why? Because that was the fashion. When I went to high school in the 80s, very in back then, very out now, but it will be back in. Fashion has its cycle. But that's a problem with ethics. When I was a junior doctor, it was okay to get dinners from drug companies, to get them to pay for your holidays, and to take a pen. Now it's not okay. These things come and go. They're just fads. So it doesn't make them right or wrong. It's just what's in fashion. And so what's out of fashion now will be in fashion later. What's in now will be out later. You can't tell. There's also the problem that every culture gravitates to its lowest common denominator. So this is a famous Stanford experiment. Stanford University, Ivy League University, the elite of the elite, the top of the top. And this is a famous prison experiment where students were randomly assigned. Some became prisoners, some became guards, and within only a few days, the guards were abusing and torturing the prisoners. They had to call off the experiment. Every society gradually, bit by bit, descends to its lowest common denominator. So it's not good to look to society to create our social contracts. So we come to our fourth system, which I like the best, and this is character ethics. And here we're not so looking at what to do, but who to be. It's the character. What character should I be? So let's say Craig and I go shooting. And Craig thinks, oh, beauty, I don't like Sam, I hate Sam. This is my chance to kill him. So he takes a gun, pretends to shoot at the target, and he shoots me with a gun and kills me. All right, so the action is he shot a gun. The result is a dead me. The motive is he wanted to kill me. In a court of law, what is that ruled? Murder. Okay, not a trick question. Murder. Now let's say he doesn't want to shoot me, he doesn't want to kill me, but he's aiming at the target, shoots me instead, and kills me. So the action is he shot a gun, the result is a dead me, but the motive was he was trying to shoot the target. In a court of law, what is that ruled? Manslaughter. Okay, same action, same result, but very different moral action. Let's say he does want to kill me, but he's such a bad shot, he just wounds me, and I just have a little bleeding wound there. That sort of thing. So action, he shot a gun. Result, only a bleeding me, but I'm living. But the motive was he wanted to kill me. In a court of law, what's that ruled? Attempted murder. Suddenly we realize it's motive that's most important. It's what's in the heart that determines a morality of an action. Not so much the action, not so much the result or the consequences. It's who the person is. And that's why, ladies, when you go on date night, don't look at what the guy's wearing. Anyone can dress up. Don't look at what he's ordering. Anyone can order the right dishes. Instead, you're meant to look at their character. How do they treat the waiter staff? Apparently, is what you're meant to do. It reveals their character. That's what you're meant to look for. But what sort of character should we be? Well, this is Tom Morris. He wrote the book If Aristotle Ran General Motors. And he said, according to Aristotle, the virtues we look for in a character are these four virtues. We look for truth, we look for goodness, we look for beauty, and we look for harmony. So as a doctor, why should I not talk you into an operation you don't need, but I needed to keep up my logbook and it'll pay for my yacht anyway? So why should I not talk you into an operation you don't need? Well, because that's not truth. What I'm doing is not what a true person would do. That's also not good. That is a bad thing to do. It's also not beautiful. That would be an ugly side of medicine, and it violates the harmony. It violates the trust and relationship that I have between a doctor and a client. As an investment advisor, why would it be wrong for you to advise someone to buy stocks they don't need, but you get a good commission? Because it would not be true, it would not be good, it would not be beautiful, and it would, again, violate the harmony, the peace, and the unity that you have between a client and an advisor. But we have a problem. What is true for you might be false for me. What is good for you might be bad for me, like in my society, my culture. What you see as beautiful, I might see as ugly. What you see as harmony, I might see as dysfunction. Who gets to choose? This is what I call the auto bin problem. So my job is to take out the garbage, And the hardest thing about taking out the garbage, trying to work out, is it green bin night or is it yellow bin night? Is it green bin night? Is it yellow bin night? So I live on a cul-de-sac, and we're all waiting to see what the other person puts out. Just waiting. And just the other week, the guy across from me, he put out the green bin. And we went, yes, it's the green bin. So we all put out our green bins. And of course, it was yellow bin. We all got it wrong. And here's the problem. If it's just left up to us to try to work out which bin it is, we will get it wrong. We need an external reference point. And it's the same with virtue. If it's left up to us, how do we know what is true, what is good, what is beautiful, what is harmony? We need an external reference point. And that is the claim of the Bible, that we do have an external reference point. Because there is a God. He loves us. He made us. And he sent us Jesus. And this is what Jesus does for us. He gives us principles to follow. So he gives us a code of ethics. So, for example, do unto others as you want them to do unto you is a code of ethics. And then he gives us an example to follow. And so Philippians 2 says your attitude should be like that of Christ Jesus. So that's an example to follow. But more than that, his Spirit lives in us and he changes our character. He gives us character ethics. And we have that verse in the Bible in Galatians where the Spirit is in us and he gives us the fruit of the Spirit. He gives us the virtues of the Spirit. Love, peace, joy, kindness, gentleness. So what have I said tonight? How can we not be the next headline? How can we do the right thing? Well, we have 4 systems of ethics. We have a code of ethics, we have rules to follow. We have consequences, where we look at the results of our actions. We have culture, where we have a culture of being good. And finally, we look at character. And out of all of these, I like character the best. And character, we look for these virtues: truth, goodness, beauty, and harmony. And I've argued that Jesus gives us principles to obey, an example to follow, but more than that, his Spirit lives in us and we get the virtues from Jesus. We get these virtues from his Spirit. Now, in the movie Batman Dark Knight Rises, there's this critical moment where Batman and Catwoman have to decide, are they going to stay in Gotham City and save Gotham City? And up until now, Gotham City has not been very nice to Batman and Catwoman. So Catwoman said, that's it, I'm not staying, I'm not going to save them, I'm leaving. And Batman said, you are better than that. That is character ethics. He is appealing to her character. Your character will know what to do. Character ethics. And we use character ethics in all levels of life. We should use it in our family life. This is how character ethics works. You say to your children, I'm your father, I love you. So you are my children. That's an appeal to character. Now clean your room. But we always get it around the wrong way. Clean your room. So that's the principle. And then they're hearing, if you do that, I will be a good child. And because of that, I will love them as their father. So it's performance-based. It's not unconditional love anymore. It's conditional love. They need to hear, no, I'm your father. I love you. And because of that, you are my children. You are safe. Children need 2 things to thrive and flourish, to know they're loved and that they're safe. And then from that, the right actions will follow. Clean your room. And then we do that in our work. See, if I know I'm loved by God, and if I know my status is secure in God, I will do the right thing at work. But if I don't think I'm loved, if I don't think my status is secure, I will chase and look for love and status in all the wrong places, and I might even cut ethical corners looking for status and love. But if I know I'm loved by God, and my status is secure because of Jesus, I will do the right thing at work. All right. Thanks.